Hello and welcome everyone. Today we have two very special guests on our Lunch and Learn session from LSE Retail to talk about their e-commerce journey. I'm Rahina Chogli and I'm an account manager here at Fresh Relevance. I work with a number of clients including De Beers, Red Letter Days, Animed Direct and Simply Supplements, to name a few, and it's just my job to make sure that our clients are getting the most out of the platform from a strategic perspective. So today I'll be joined by Leila Boyd, CRO Manager, and Phill Curry, Head of Brand and CRM at LSE Retail. If you both want to say a quick hello.
Hi guys.
Hello.
So we have a jam-packed 30 minutes for you today. So just to quickly run you through the agenda. Firstly, Leila and Phill will dive into their case study and talk through their e-commerce tactics that they have used to optimize traffic, conversion rates and performance, plus some of the challenges their team faced and how they went about solving them. Then I will be hosting a short panel discussion with Leila and Phill just to get their thoughts on current hot topics. If you do have any questions you would like to ask, please post them in the question panel at the side and then we'll do our best to answer them. So let's dive in. I'm going to hand over to Leila and Phill now.
Hey, yeah, I'll jump in and do a quick introduction of the business. So LSE Retail probably isn't a name that you've heard. It's very much sort of the name of the business and not customer facing, but who we are basically is an online lighting supplier. So we've been selling lighting online since about 2009. We started off predominantly B2B on the trade side of things, with reps across the country as well, and also on marketplaces. So we had a presence on Amazon and eBay, and that was the main way that we sold our products in the early days. And then we introduced our own B2C websites, which are iconiclights.co.uk and valuelights.co.uk. And we've been working hard to sort of grow those and make those a bigger percentage of our business and make them a real presence in the market. So I'd say over the last 4.5 years, we've really been focusing in there. We've put a lot of effort into growing the team around those brands specifically, and investing in new platforms and new technologies to grow them as much as possible. And we've seen really positive results. So when I started with the business about 4 years ago, we were doing less than 20 grand a week on Iconic Lights, and you know, we've had weeks recently where we've done more than 10 times that now, which is a huge amount of growth in 4 years, and it's not dissimilar on Valuelights as well. So yeah, they're the main priorities for us, as well as still maintaining and running the B2B side of things with Minisun Trade.
Perfect, great. I'm going to talk through some of our e-commerce challenges that we're currently facing at the moment. So the first one that we've got is we're currently, as Phill mentioned, a really fast growing business. Obviously that holds its own challenges on its own. We currently are quite limited on our development time through the development agency that we work, and the IT time is also quite limited. We also have various marketing channels which come onto the site, which means that obviously each marketing channel works differently in its user behavior. So it's kind of just making sure that the site works for everyone who comes on. Nextly, we have our product is it's not necessarily an impulse buy, so it can take a bit of time and research for the users to then commit to buying a product. So it's sort of for us, I guess, sort of making sure that they see products that suit the ideas that they have when they come onto site, and then giving them some time to think about that it will work well within their home. The next one is serving the right product to the right users on an automated system. So making sure, like I mentioned before, the different marketing channels see products that suit them. We also have new and returning customers, making sure that they see the products that they would want to see. We struggle with cart abandonment rates at the moment. So we currently, one of our biggest challenges this year is to try and overcome that. and Fresh Relevance is going to be play a big part in that. We also don't currently have a way to A/B test. There's various platforms that offer that, such as Google Optimize, which we do use sometimes. However, we find that affects site speed, so we are looking for alternative ways that we can use on site to make sure that we're optimizing any messaging that we're putting forward. And then the final one is we would like to increase the conversion rate. We've got a lot more users coming onto the site, so it's been a real challenge to sustain what we did last year. However, we would like to increase this year if possible. Next, we're going to talk you through what actions we took with Fresh Relevance to help work on some of the challenges that I previously mentioned. So from a user experience side, we took the approach of adding product recs across the site. We use those on the PLPs, on the PDPs, the homepage, and also in pop-ups. We found it's a great way to show products to users on potentially a site where there's no direct products shown, such as the home pages where we see a lot of graphics. So we've put the product carousels in there so that people can see the products firsthand. We've also used them to apply rules, so we can vary what we show to different customers. So previously viewed as a really big rule for us, we apply that to all returning customers so they can see the products that they last viewed as soon as they get onto the site, hopefully minimizing the time it takes them to get back to something that they would look to purchase. We have also used dynamic content, which essentially has been a big push for us. We've noticed that a lot of our users like Klarna, I think especially when they come through the paid social channel, it's quite a young demographic and they like to pay by sort of spreading the cost. So we have used that on the PDP, and essentially it's dynamic in the way that it uses the price on the page to break that down into 3 payments. So it allows the user to see not the full cost of the product, but what it will cost them per month over 3 months. And the idea behind that is it just makes it more of a gentle approach for the more expensive items. And also we have used it because at the end of the month when people are waiting for a payday, we've seen an increased uptake of those periods, so it's good for us to push that at that time. The third one that we've got is we have tried to tailor each customer journey. As I mentioned, the behaviour is different from different channels, so we are trying to overcome that by tailoring little parts of the journey so it resonates more with them when they come on site. One of the first ones that we did was the popover, which we had done for new users. So that essentially is data capture. So it's working towards the email team. So it captures someone's email address when they come onto site, and then we offer them a 10% discount through the email that they'll receive, and then they can come back onto site and redeem that 10% off their first purchase. We've also used countdown timers, so that falls in line with any marketing activity that we have on site. And it was brilliant over Black Friday, and it just creates an urgency message. So that draws back to these aren't really impulse buys, but through creating urgency of free delivery or percentage discount off the purchase, it allows us to sort of, I guess, put a bit of an end date on when they can use these through the countdown timer, and therefore hopefully pushing them down the funnel sooner. We've also used coupons. So we have a huge percentage of new users that come onto site. So it's really important, I think, to be quite competitive to offer a discount for your first purchase. So we've used the coupon function through the Smart Block, which essentially is tailored to different types of users. So depending on where you are in the funnel, that depends on how much you'll be given or what you'll be offered. So we might give free delivery to a returning user or 10% off to a new user, but this is allowed to tailor their journey and hopefully be a bit persuasive at certain points on their time on site. So obviously, again, trying to increase the conversion rate. Testing and optimization, as I mentioned, A/B testing is something that we haven't been doing enough, so it's something that we would like to do more and more going forward. The idea behind Fresh Relevance is that you can do A/B tests of graphics or messaging or links that the banners go through to. So we basically just optimize everything that we offer through A/B testing it, letting it run for a month, and then working out what works best and then setting whatever wins live. And that's been really fundamental for the product recs that we use, because they you're not always 100% sure what the customer's going to relate to best when they come onto site, especially new users. So it's been really helpful to A/B test them, just to constantly optimize what we're offering them and how we're saying it. We've also optimize center to track, test and turn off underperforming. So just what I said before. So, essentially, we use the optimize function on the Fresh Relevance backend, which allows you to see a side-by-side comparison of the performance of the blocks. And then we'll just strip back the ones that aren't working. So then I'll hand over to Phill, who will talk you through the email modules which we have used.
So the email side of Fresh Relevance we started using a little bit later. We actually signed up to that on Christmas Eve, if I remember rightly. So we've been working on that only from this year, whereas the other modules we've had for a bit longer and been able to try a bit more. We've been inserting a lot of the features into our emails over the course of the last 2 months or so. So there's a ton of different bits and pieces that we found useful, inserting the unique coupons so that the customers are gaining unique discount codes is a huge win for us, because a lot of our generic ones were getting leaked onto affiliate sites and things like that. So if we wanted to give, for example, a second purchaser a specific discount, there was every chance that was going to end up in the hands of new customers and things like that. So that's been a big help to us. It also saves us a bit of money in commission from those affiliate sites as well. And this has been a really nice way to introduce those into the email. We do have within our email platform, we use Emetria, and we do have some of the functionality that Fresh Relevance does provide within the email module. So for example, product recs and things like that we do have, but being able to use Fresh Relevance within our campaigns has been a big help, because it means that, one, we have more flexibility on what we want those recommendations to show. So we have different ways to filter those customers and present them with different product recommendations, but also it means that we can link them to what's being shown on site. So if I'm making an email and sending it to a specific group of customers and they see product recs within that email, we can be sure that they'll see the same product recs when they arrive on the website. And that sort of joined up customer journey is something that we were lacking before. So that's been a real positive. And again, it's similar with things like countdown timers, which we can brand up the same as how it is on the website and make sure that journey is consistent.
Perfect. Okay. So next we will run through the results of the things that we have utilised on site. The conversion rate impacts. So we've actually seen a 3% uplift when people go through to the PDP pages and then interact with the product recommendations. And we've also seen, a 2% increase on conversion rate uplift, and then a 3% increase on revenue uplift when people use the product recommendations on the PDPs.
Yeah, in terms of emails, there's some big numbers there. Like I say, we've only started using it this year, so it's relatively new. It is probably too soon to be judging the results in our automation campaigns, because a lot of those campaigns run over a number of weeks and don't necessarily have all the data behind to make a fair decision yet. But in terms of our broadcast, where we've been putting the different bits and pieces that Fresh Relevance provide, including your sort of social proof, your product recommendations, your countdown timers, etc. We've seen a huge increase in our broadcast email revenue so far this year compared to the same period last year. So 30% on Iconic, 75% on Value. The business has changed in that time as well, and we're certainly a company that was lucky enough to benefit, I guess, from the recent shift to working from home. We've seen big increases across the business, so we're continuing to grow that in all of our areas. But Definitely Fresh Relevance, I think, has played a part in that, in terms of the broadcast emails that we've been sending out. And also we've seen a huge amount of new signups via the popover that we've been using on Fresh Relevance since about September or October. I think we've been using that popover, whereas previously we were using another third-party tool that was specifically focused on just delivering pop-ups. Bringing that over to Fresh Relevance has seen a huge increase, and again, it's nice to sort of have everything in one place and keep that whole thing consistent.
Brilliant. And LSE together. So this is what the future holds, what we'd like to try and employ this year. So we currently are looking at homepage optimizations. As I mentioned before, we want to tailor the user journey to different types of users that come on the site, especially between new and returning. We'd like to use Fresh Relevance. One of the main functionalities that we would like to use is to currently have a main slot that auto plays. So we can have, for example, a sale message and then a sailing link message at the same time. So we can offer the marketing message and a category message to users when they come onto the site. And the idea behind that is not every user is going to scroll down the page, so they might not see other offerings. But if we can have something that's on rotation as soon as they come on to the site, that would be really beneficial for us and quite space saving as well. The next thing that we would like to do are returning user discount code optimizations. We essentially have a new user discount for all users that come on the site. However, we'd like to focus on the pool of users that are further down the funnel, so bought with us once before, however, have come back again but haven't committed to buying anything just yet. Or we would also like to look at those who haven't bought already and maybe have visited the site sort of 4 or 5 times, added to their basket, but then haven't actually purchased. So we would like to use Fresh Relevance to serve them different discount codes as they're going through the site and going through their journey with us. So for example, we'll give them potentially free delivery if they've added to bag but not bought yet, or we might reoffer them 10% off if they never took up the new user discount. And then the next thing that we will use is urgency messaging. So as I mentioned before, we found a massive benefit from having the countdown banners on the sites. It's really pushed people to come there on the last day. We see a massive uplift in conversion rate when the message is on the final hours and the final day. So we'd like to apply that to other areas of the site through messaging. So one of the ones that we're looking to do this quarter is to add a delivery message onto the site, which will essentially be either we're going to do A/B testing of 2, so it will either be a countdown to when next day ends, or it will be a message that says that they will get free delivery if they add so much to their bag. So say if they're £5 down, it'll say if you spend an extra £5, you'll get free delivery. So that are the next 2 things that we'll be testing on the PDPs. And then the next thing that we are going to look to do is email analysis. Phill, do you want to talk through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned before, basically we've had the email module since the start of the year, and whilst we're able to look at its impact and assess its impact quite well in our broadcast campaigns, which are sort of running very well at the moment, and we can compare to last year or we can compare to other times. The automated ones are a little bit harder with them running for longer and having very specific journeys. So we're having to wait a little bit longer on that. But once we've had them live for a good amount of time, we'll be able to give them a thorough analysis, see how they've impacted click-through rates and our conversion, see how people are interacting with the blocks that we're using, and if it's better than when we were using the Emetria product recommendations, for example, see if that does lead to the increase in conversion through a joined up customer journey that we're hoping it would do. So that's sort of to come, the analysis on how it's impacted our automated campaigns.
Perfect. Okay, that's everything from us, and thanks for listening.
Thank you both for that. I'm looking forward to being able to help you execute your plans for this year. So let's dive into some questions. Okay, so have you come across any customer experience challenges in the past 12 months?
I think there's some general business things that have happened. Obviously, it's been a bizarre 12 months, almost to the day now, really, since we stopped working from the office and went from home. And you know, in marketing, we weren't the only ones who did that. So our customer service team, for example, moved to working from home and stopped taking phone calls. So what had been a huge part of our customer service offering was being able to speak to people on the phone and have a quick conversation with an operator and sort of iron out any either issues with orders or more often questions about products. So that might be the size of something if somebody's not satisfied by the dimensions we've been given on site, or it might be, you know, when a product's going to be coming back into stock if it's gone out of stock and things like that. So not having that ease of access to a representative of the websites and of the business means that we've had to sort of adjust a little bit and make sure that as best as possible we're providing all the information that we can within the website. So customers who might previously have wanted to speak to somebody on the phone might not need to as much as they had. So that's probably been a customer experience challenge, as well as the general sort of business challenge of keeping stock in at the moment, which is proving difficult because I think everybody's in the same boat a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think COVID made everyone reevaluate their websites and how they've portrayed information. Okay, so what are your priorities for 2021 when it comes to optimizing the experience?
I think from user experience perspective, we've got a priority in separating the user journey for both new and returning users. We have 62% of our users are new and 38% are returning. So currently we have sort of like one size fits all at the moment, but we'd really like to optimize, as I mentioned before, the home page, the banner messaging, the urgency messages, the product recs that they see when they come onto the site, because obviously they haven't got any previously viewed items. So just really optimizing those and tailoring them to each user.
Lovely.
Another one, I might sorry, Rena, just to jump in. Another thing that we've really been focusing on for 2021 is changing the face of the brand on Iconic Lights, particularly. So we've got the two websites, Iconic Lights and Valuelights, and as you might be able to presume, Valuelights offers a more discount, lower price bracket type product, and Iconic Lights is pitched a little bit higher. And one of the impacts of making a lot more revenue than we'd even targeted last year as a result of the influx of people doing up their homes because they're working from home, is that we've been able to take a view on really toning back the discounts that we put in front of customers and sort of changing the identity of the brand a little bit. And we've used this as an opportunity to do that. So our aim with Iconic Lights has been for a long time becoming sort of a source of knowledge in interior design in general, and being able to put out much better content and much more informed content about interior design as a whole, and this has given us the opportunity to do that. So that's definitely another focus for 2021 as well, is making sure that we're sort of growing the brand as a lifestyle brand, as a sort of source of knowledge on interior design and creating good engaging content.
That's great. Okay, so how do you think brands recreate a feeling of human connection online?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, really key, especially this year when more people have been forced online. I think for me, I think tone of voice is really important. I think when you go into a store, you would always have a face-to-face conversation, so it's kind of trying to replicate that as well as you can through the tone of voice on the site. I think preempting what people might need is really important, because you don't have the ability for a user to sit and look at all your stock in a room. So it's kind of just showing them as much as you can from where they are, which is why I think the product recommendations are really important, and the banners to try and get people to move through the site as you would move through the store, to try and sort of onboard, I guess, more of a feel for what the store has to offer. Phill, is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think there's I think it's an interesting premise as well. I think there's probably websites and businesses that lend themselves a bit better to this sort of thing as well. So, for example, if I'm on ASOS somewhere where I shop frequently, and the way they learn my browsing patterns and purchase patterns means that they do unfortunately have some sort of knowledge of who I am and what I like. So that feels like a natural fit, really. They can recommend brands to me that I like when they have new items for sale and things like that. Whereas I think with us, we don't necessarily need to try that hard to be a sort of human connection in a way. We have our social media for that, and particularly our Instagram that is very friendly and shares sort of the best sort of interior images that we can find using our lights and customer homes and things like that. But as far as our websites go, I know Leila's mentioned tone of voice, and that's probably the key one. But otherwise, I don't think we're trying necessarily to recreate a feeling of human connection, really, other than being able to put ourselves across as being a company who know what we're talking about and know about sort of lifestyle and interior and design. I think that's more a part of it.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, your Instagram page will help show you that as well.
Exactly.
So, of all the personalization campaigns that you have implemented so far, which one is your favorite and why?
I think for me personally, I really enjoyed the countdowns. I think they're super simple and they do sort of what they say on the tin and just really easy to implement. And we saw a definite impact on the conversion rate from using it. So I think that one was my favorite for sure.
Phill, do you have one?
Yeah, I think for me, being able to, I know I spoke about it a bit earlier, but being able to put those unique discount codes into our emails really easily has been a huge win for us, and a number of different ways, sort of cost saving and being able to put the right discounts in front of the right people and knowing that they're the only ones who'll be able to use it has cleared up what was a huge frustration. So that's been really beneficial.
That's good. Okay, so then for anyone who's only getting started with personalization and improving their customer experience, where would you suggest they start?
I think that it sounds so obvious, really, but the best place to start is to know what you're looking to gain from the endeavor. So if you're looking for one thing, make sure that everything you're doing is built towards that. So, do I want to know what's most likely to get a customer to add to basket? Okay, so I'll focus on that area. I think if you go into it with just an idea of, I know personalization is a buzzword, and I know it's something that we need to be doing because all the top retailers are doing it. So how can we get it onto the website? You're not really attacking it from the right angle, really, and it should be much more about what problem with my website is it that I'd like to solve, or what feature is that I'm currently missing that I know our customers would like or would engage with, and going at it from that way, not just sort of running things for the sake of running things, but making sure there's a purpose and a plan, and that ultimately will help you analyze the impact of it and whether it's been successful or not as well. So I think not just rushing into it for the sake of it because you've heard your competitors do it or other big retailers do it, but thinking about what it is you're trying to learn, what it is you're trying to maximize, and tailoring all your plans one at a time if you have to make sure that you can get a result on those.
That's great. Okay, and then my last question for you guys. So when implementing your personalization campaigns, were there any unexpected or even surprising outcomes?
I had one. I had one that wasn't actually Fresh Relevance related. That I wouldn't mind sharing.
Yeah, go for it.
We did a piece. I think it was about 2 years ago now. Obviously, time has become slightly distorted, and I can't remember when things happened. But I think it was around 2 years ago. We did a piece where our post-purchase emails, the automated emails that we were sending, switched from quite generic ones. So if you purchased anything on the website, you would receive the same email, and it'd say, 10% off your next purchase when you return, or something similar, and everybody would receive the same one. And we spent a lot of time and energy changing that and modifying it. So if you bought from one category, you received a specific email. So for example, if you bought a ceiling light, you'd receive an email tailored to a customer who's bought a ceiling light. If you'd bought a floor lamp, you'd get a floor lamp email. We also then went one further and did trends and sort of product groupings as well. So if you'd bought copper lighting, you might receive an email which was copper lighting specific and focused on variations or things that might go with your products. And it was a big exercise, and it took a lot of time, and we were really excited about it because it was going into a level of personalization that we hadn't done before. It was very logical. Everything made sense when we sort of planned it through. Putting products in front of people that relate to the products they bought and things like that. And it just didn't do very well at all. Not even just sort of slightly worse than the generic one. It was a total waste of time. It just didn't have any of the impact that the previous one did, which was just a generic one that went out to everybody. Everybody got the same email. And we've tried a couple of variations on it since, and again, just for that post-purchase one, none of the real good personalization or what we think is maybe being clever, it has actually worked, and the generic has always worked better. But that's been a huge surprise, and where it's worked well in other areas, that's just one where it's just not taken at all. But sometimes the generic stuff does just work better, but not all the time.
Yeah, that definitely is quite surprising to hear. Leila, what about you from like a web side of things?
Yeah, so I guess a similar sort of findings as Phill. I sort of was quite surprised about when we do the product recs and we apply rules on the A/B testing. The one that worked best on the PDP was just similar items, which is such a simple concept. Whereas I thought potentially like we put it against ceiling lights, which is our biggest category. So the majority of people go through ceiling lights or buy a ceiling light. So I thought, well, obviously that's going to do really well because that's what people are looking for. But yeah, just applying a really simple rule of similar items. So just showing anything that is like the item that they're looking at, maybe in a different color or a different size, and that won by miles. So yeah, I think I've kind of learned from using Fresh Relevance that although it's good to tailor, you can sort of almost tailor too much. So I think it's good to sort of do a little bit of tailoring, but not go that granular.
I think as well, some of it relates back to one of the challenges that Leila mentioned before, which is the product we're selling isn't necessarily an impulse purchase. It's a much more considered purchase. I don't know anybody who's going to receive one of our emails and see a chandelier in it, for example, and go, quick, call the electrician, I bought a chandelier. It's a much more considered purchase. A lot of the products do require electricians, and you sort of plan these things ahead of time. So, in a way that you might see a pair of trainers online and go, oh, you know what, I'll just buy them. It's not necessarily that thing. So sometimes when you have a really good idea of, oh, this customer would like to see these products because they have this trait and that trait, it doesn't necessarily work like that, because then sometimes the products you're putting in front of them just don't suit a home or don't suit the living room that they've got, or there's not enough space, or they don't want an electrician to come around and insert a ceiling light. So it's I think it does relate back to the product a little bit as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of thought that would go behind, obviously, like you said, someone buying a ceiling light, it's not something you just pick within 2 minutes of having a quick look.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Well, thank you all for attending today. And thanks again to our brilliant guest speakers, Leila and Phill, for sharing their journey with us.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.